Hey everybody, welcome back to the Poker Vlog. This is going to be part 2 of our 2-day session, back-to-back sessions at South Point Hotel and Casino. This one's on Sunday, September 17th. We get into some interesting spots. I get into a 3-way all-in. I get into a situation with my pocket queens again. Pocket queens have been a challenging one for me recently, so stay tuned for that one because we need to make some retribution with our pocket queens coming up here in future vlogs. So really interesting episode, some really good action, so stay tuned for the hands. Quick update on the health front. I am down 8.6 pounds since when I first started, so everything is going good on that front. The diet has been clean. I haven't been working out as much as I would like, but I've been taking it kind of easy on the workout front, really just trying to tune in the diet and make sure that that's all good, and then slowly work in just some walking and steady state cardio, nothing too crazy there. So all good though. The weight is coming off. I feel much better. I feel lighter. My energy levels are up. So all that is good stuff. I hope you guys enjoy the hands. I will see you at the table. All right, so we've been at the table for a couple of hands. We're in the small blind, and we pick up a premium holding ace-king offsuit. We end up getting a bunch of limpers, under the gun limps, middle position player limps, the player in the middle position 2-seat limps, cutoff limps, and the button decides to put in the call as well. So I'm going to raise this up. And I settle on a sizing of $22 pre-flop. So I'm going a little bit large here, trying to isolate and get this hand heads up with one of these limpers. Big blind decides to put in the call. Under the gun player gets out of the way. Middle position player is not going to be getting out of the way here. She is thinking long and hard about what she wants to do. I'm looking at her and getting a read that she was thinking about re-raising, but she decides to just call. The player in middle position 2 and the cutoff both get out of the way, and the button decides to go ahead and fold here as well. So we're going to end up going 3 ways to a flop. Was trying to get it heads up, but what are we going to do? We'll take it 3 ways and see if we can't connect on the board. Unfortunately, we cannot. We see 10-8 deuce rainbow. I decide to check here. I got a little bit of a strange read from the middle position player that she had a strong hand pre-flop. Big blind decides to bet here for $20, and the middle position player just calls. I think I could be check raising here some percentage of the time, but I also think that I want to have some strong hands like ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack in my calling range to protect my pre-flop raising range. So I decide to just call. And we see the 5 of clubs on the turn. Got a pretty big pot brewing here, $134 in the middle. It goes check, check to the middle position player, who decides to check here as well. So we're going to end up going 3 ways to the river. River is an 8, pairing the board. It's the 8 of hearts. I decide to continue checking here, just trying to get to showdown. Big blind checks as well, and the middle position player just instantly jams. We fold. We're out of there. She takes down this pot. Moving right along, we pick up another premium holding. We've got pocket queens, under the gun. I make it 12 to go. Under the gun +1 folds really quickly. Middle position player decides to put in the call. He had been calling a lot pre-flop up to this point, so very wide range. Folds around to the big blind, who also decides to put in the additional $10. So we are going to end up going 3 ways here to a flop. Flop comes down with the dreaded overcard to our premium holding. We see ace, jack, 9, rainbow. Big blind checks. I'm going to be firing out a continuation bet here. I make it 15 to go. Only the middle position player puts in the call. The big blind decides to get out of the way. So now we are going to go heads up here to a turn. I think this player can have a lot of Jack X holdings in their range, and they can also have quite a few aces. I decide to slow down and check here, and they instantly check back. So we're going to go to a river, which comes the 5 of spades. I check. Player decides to check here again. I think we are good. I show my pocket queens, and he says, yep, I just have a jack. And we end up taking down a small pot here with the ladies. All right, this next hand is a fun one. We pick up king, jack of diamonds in the small blind. We get a limper from under the gun. Everyone else decides to fold around until it gets to the button, who decides to go ahead and raise this up. But he goes pretty small. He makes it an $8 raise. I think I could 3-bet here, but I decided to just flick in the $7 call. Big blind gets out of the way, and the under the gun +1 player puts in the call as well. So we're going to go 3 ways here to a flop. Flop comes down 10, 9, 7, 2 spades, 1 diamond, giving us a gut shot straight draw, backdoor flush draw to go along with our 2 overs. Checks to the button, who fires out a continuation bet of $10. I decide to just call here, and the under the gun +1 player puts in the call as well. So we are going to go 3 ways to a turn. Turn gives us top pair. We see the king of hearts. Checks over to the button, who does not slow down on this turn card. He decides to bet $30 here. I think I could raise some percentage of the time to protect against flush draws, straight draws. But we have a lot of equity here, and I think if he is bluffing, I'd like to keep his bluffs in range. So I put in the call, and the under the gun +1 player quickly folds. We see the 8 of spades on the river, bringing in the front door flush, bringing in the straight flush, giving us the straight. I check, and this player doesn't think too long at all before firing out for $75. I'm not going to be folding here on this river. I think the question is there any value to be had if we were to put in a raise? Could we get called by the worst end of the straight? Could we get called by 2 pair hands? I think it's probably a little bit ambitious to think that we're going to make much value here by raising. So I think the best play is just to go ahead and call, and that's what I do. Flick in the chip, and he turns over pocket 6s. So he did catch the bad end of the straight here on the river, and he decided to continue for value. We turn over our king jack, and we end up taking down this $263 pot with our straight. Always nice to put in the river call and be correct here in these tricky spots. So we've got a couple of short stacks here, about $125 effective behind for each player. We look down at pocket kings, under the gun +1 limps, middle position player limps. We get the cutoff and the hijack to limp, and the small blind completes. I raised this up to $18 here. Under the gun +1 quickly calls, and now the middle position player who limped re-raises all in, about 120-ish effective. Everyone else gets out of the way, and it's back over to us, and I immediately go all in. The under the gun +1 player surprisingly snap calls, and we are going 3 ways here to a flop. Let's see if our pocket kings can hold.
What's that, like aces or something?
Kings.
Oh, don't need it. Don't even need that.
Not only do they hold, we end up spiking top set on the turn. We didn't need it, though. I think we were ahead the whole way, and we end up taking down a $325-ish pot approximately with our pocket kings. All right, the very next hand, we are in the small blind, and we are dealt in another premium holding, pocket queens. We see a limp from under the gun +1. Everybody else gets out of the way. It folds over to the cutoff, who decides to put in a $12 raise. Button goes ahead and releases his cards. We're going to be putting in the 3-bet here. I decide on a size of $40. Want to go a little bit larger because we're going to be out of position the remainder of this hand. Folds over to the cutoff, who quickly puts in the $40 call. So we're going to go heads up here. And this is the same player that we beat earlier with our straight on the river when we had King Jack of Diamonds. He seems to have been a little bit tilted since that hand, so I think he's got revenge mode activated here. We see a flop of 7-6-4 with 2 clubs. I decide to down bet on this flop. I think this is a bit of a mistake. We probably should be going a bit larger given the board texture. He's just going to be calling so often with so many different holdings here that I think we should have went like $45 or $50 on the flop. As played, he does call, and we see the 6 of diamonds on the turn, pairing the board, giving us 2 pair. I think we can continue to bet here and get value with our overpair, and I settle on a bit of a larger sizing here. I go $75 here on the turn, put in the bet, and this player instantly jams over the top for his remaining $225-ish dollars. So he shoves it right in our face. And at this point in the hand, I'm not sure exactly what we're beating. I think we're still ahead of flush draws, and that's about it. I don't think he would be doing this with a hand like pocket jacks or pocket tens or pocket nines. So I decide to fold here and let my hand go. Let me know if you guys think this is a disciplined fold with pocket queens, or if we're just over folding hands where we should be calling it off. Okay, the poker gods want to give us a second chance. They give us pocket queens again. This time we are in the cutoff. I've raised this up, and we end up getting a 3-bet from player in the big blind. I immediately go all in. The big blind snap calls here, and we are going to go to a flop. He turns over the dreaded pocket aces. So we run our queens right into it. Board comes down, very low cards, nothing there to help our pocket queens. And we end up losing about a $350-ish pot here. This player had recently rebought for around $200-ish dollars. And just like that, all of our winnings are gone, and we are basically back to even, sitting on a stack of around $300 after folding our queens in the previous hand and running queens into aces on this hand. All right, moving away from the premium pocket pairs, this time we have the ducks in the under the gun position. I decide to go ahead and put in the $2 limp. Middle position player limps, folds over to the button, who decides $2 is not enough. He makes it 12 to go. Small blind quickly gets out of the way. Big blind puts in the call. we put in the call, and the middle position player puts in the call as well. So we're going to go 4 ways here to a flop. Flop comes down 6-4 deuce with 2 hearts, giving us bottom set on a somewhat connected board here. Check it over to the button, who quickly checks back, and we see the 4 of spades on the turn. When the big blind checks, no reason for us to continue checking here. We want to build a pot. I make it 15 to go. Everyone but the middle position player gets out of the way, and we go heads up to the queen of clubs on the river. Definitely want to get value here and keep building a pot. I make it $35. Pretty small sizing, but unfortunately the middle position player quickly folds, and he flashed some hearts. So I think if some hearts would have come on the river, we would have made a little bit more money in this hand. Unfortunately, we win a small one. In this next hand, we've got Jack 10 of diamonds, and we are in the small blind. It's folded over to the cutoff, who decides to put in a $7 pre-flop raise. Button gets out of the way. I think I can just call here. I put in the $6, and the big blind decides to put in the $5 call, and we're going to go 3 ways here to a flop. Flop comes down Jack 10-8, giving us top 2 pair. Check it over to the original raiser, who c-bets $10. That's not going to be enough. We're going to raise this up with our top 2 pair. I make it 35 to go here on the flop. And surprisingly, the big blind decides to cold call my re-raise here. Not something I had anticipated. I was expecting he was going to be getting out of the way. But he calls, and now the original raiser goes into the tank for a little bit here, deciding on what to do. I'm praying that he's going to reopen the action and raise here. But unfortunately, that's not what happens. He decides to go ahead and release his hand and angrily throws his $10 towards the pot. And we're going to go heads up here to a turn, which is the Jack of spades, giving us a full house. I now check, trying to lay the trap, but the big blind quickly checks back, and we see the 10 of clubs on the river. Not the greatest card. It's a bit of overkill here. It's hard for the big blind to have a 10 or to have a jack or really to have much here that he can call with. So I decide to put in a bet, but I make it 55 to go, which might be a little too large considering the board and what we could get called by. And indeed, he does fold pretty quickly here, tapping his hand and sending his cards into the muck. So we take down this $146 pot. Not sure that we could have gotten much more value on the river. Let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, this time we pick up pocket nines in the hijack, and it folds to us, so I go ahead and raise this up to $8. The table had gotten a little bit tighter, and people were folding to larger pre-flop raises. And as played, only the button calls here, so we're going to end up going heads up here to a flop after the small blind and big blind get out of the way. Great going heads up when you have pocket nines, and it's even better when you see queen 9-8 on the board, giving us middle set. I go ahead and bet 15 US dollars here, and the button quickly puts in the $15 call. So we're going to continue on here to a turn card, which is the Jack of clubs, putting a 4-liner to the straight. Any 10 now makes a straight. So I slow down here, I check. The button quickly checks back, and we see the ace of diamonds peel off on the river. It's not the best card. King 10 is now the nuts, but I think we can still get called by worse hands like 2-pair, maybe some ace-x hands. So I make it 25 to go, and unfortunately they quickly fold. I do show my set of nines because South Point runs a promo in September where you make $75 when you flop a set of nines. But unfortunately, it does not count on football days, so we do not make an additional $75 with our set. This hand is notable just because we are dealt pocket nines again, and as I mentioned in the previous hand, South Point runs a promotion in September where when you flop a set of nines, you get paid $75, but it does not count on football promotion days, which Saturday is a football promotion day. So we raise this up to 12 and we get called in 2 spots. And we're going to end up going 3 ways here to a flop. Flop is going to come down giving us, you got it, a set of 9s, which normally we would be getting paid out on. And if you include the last hand, that's $150 in promotion money that we're missing out on. So we see king 9 8. I'm going to be firing out here. I'm going to be making a C bet, and I decided to go large here. I make it $30 to go. I think we can get called by a lot of king X hands like jack 10, maybe some sticky pocket pairs that don't believe us might get in the mix as well. But as luck would have it, everybody decides to go ahead and get out of the way. So we end up taking down a pretty small pot with our pocket 9s. We get minimum value with our set, and we don't get any of the promotion money because it's a football promotion day. Last hand of the session, we've got king queen of spades. We decided to raise this up to $12. We end up getting called by 1 player in middle position. This is a newer player at the table. He'd been there for maybe 20 minutes, maybe a little less. But in that time, he had called about 100% of all pre-flop raises. So I think he was a little new to the game and didn't really understand the game that well. So he's got a very wide range here, and we go to a flop, and we see queen 3 deuce, giving us top pair with a decent kicker. And we fire out $15 on this flop. This puts the player into the tank a little bit here, and it looks like he's contemplating on maybe raising, but he decides on just putting in the call here on the flop. So we're going to continue on to a turn card. Turn card gives us top 2 pair when we see the king of clubs. I'm going to continue value betting here with our top 2 pair. I make it $35 to go here on the turn. Not exactly sure what we're going to get called by here in this spot. I guess he could have some straight draws. He could have some queen X hands in his range. Like, players like to just call pre-flop with ace queen. So he could have ace queen. He could have a hand like queen jack. He could have queen 10, and he's a non-believer and keeps calling. And indeed, that's what happens. He puts in the $35 call here, and we're going to continue on to the river. And the river is pretty much a brick. It's the deuce of spades. If he's got some weird deuce in his hand, then so be it. Just take my money. Good hand, sir. But I'm going to continue betting here for value, and I settle on a sizing of around half pot size. I go with $60 here on the river. Player pretty much snap calls this $60 bet, slides out the chips, matches the stack. We turn over our 2 pair, and we are good. They throw their hand into the muck, and we take down this pot to end the night. All right, so that is it for episode 21. I hope you guys enjoyed the hands. Again, with the pocket queens, seems like the ladies have been giving us some trouble in the past couple of episodes, and even before that, when we were at the Orleans, we ran our queens into kings, and I think I'm still looking at previous hand histories, and allowing that to inform my decision in the moment, which I think is a mistake. I think in this particular situation, I should just go with my queens. I think with that player specifically, we had won a big pot against him where we rivered the higher end of the straight, and I think he was steaming a little bit from that hand. So I think he was capable of doing what he did with the variety of holdings that we were ahead of, and I think we just have to close our eyes and call in that situation. Let me know what you think in the comments. Curious to hear your feedback, and if you think that's a call or you think it's a fold, let me know. If you like the episode, please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. Please share this with your family, friends, coworkers, anyone that you think will appreciate poker content. Please do share it. If you'd like to get in touch with me, leave me a comment, or if you'd like, shoot me an email. My email address is in the bio on my channel, and I will get back to you. Thank you again all so much for tuning in and for all of your support. I appreciate all the comments, everything that you put in the comments, everything, the likes, the shares, everything has been fantastic. So thank you all so much for that. I will see you all in the next episode. Until then, be well, be good to one another, and good luck at the tables. Peace. Hey, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I almost forgot to include our totals over the last 2 episodes. So we played on, I believe it was a Friday and a Saturday at South Point, and we were in the game for both days, total of $800. And we cashed out for $829 total for a profit of $29. I'm going to put the totals up here or over here somewhere. So 29 bucks. It's a win. We'll take it. Again, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all your support. I will see you in the next episode. Peace.